On this episode, we're going to disassemble this carburetor. This is a Weber 3236 DFAV, which will be similar to the DFAV, but this process will work for basically all of your two-barrel Webers, Impies, whatever you're running on your Fiats. The difference is going to be when they were made, pollution control stuff, that kind of stuff. So this one is, let's just say, basic. It's got an inlet tube for fuel, and it has one vacuum port for vacuum advance, and nothing else. Oh, electric choke. The car originally came with a carburetor similar to this, but it had a hot water choke. And when we stripped all of the stuff off, we switched over to this one. This is going to be more of a guide, right? You don't have to do it this way. You can do it whatever way you want. This is just the way I do it. So this is your air filter gasket. It just, seals up here. The air filter bottom goes on, the air filter top over there, just to try to keep dirt from coming in between the two pieces and flowing up into here. These are the choke butterflies. Down here we have fuel butterflies. There's still a little bit of gas rolling around in there. So there's some carbon deposits down here on the butterflies. That's not that big a deal. It's not going to hurt anything. You have jets. Main jets are right in here. Technically, you can access them from this little spot, but it's kind of difficult. To take the top off, we have to disconnect the choke lever. There's a little circlip right here. This is one of the smallest circlips in the world. These are 2x readers. I highly recommend for doing your up close work. I have a little pick. Sometimes you can get in there with a pick, pop it off. Try not to let it go flying. If it flies, it could be lost forever. In which case you could use safety wire. Okay, so it hit the wall, hit the ceiling, and landed over here. I heard it. Got it. You can't see it on my finger, but I'll put it right here. Can you see it now? So that was good. Could have been worse. This is for paint. See this little clip that I can't even pick up? Put it in there for later. Then this slides off. And so now these are uncontrolled. But this will slide out through the bottom. This will slide out through the top. Or come off through the top. So a flat bladed screwdriver. There's 5 screws holding this top on. So this carburetor has been on the car for 6 years and 7,000 miles. I don't know how many times it's come off. I think it came off once because the hold down bolts were a little loose. The hold down nuts on the studs were loose, which causes it to run poorly. So all 5 of these are the same length. They're interchangeable in here. Now there's a gasket between these two pieces, and you'll probably destroy it taking it off. And then the float is attached. So these are the floats, and here's the gasket. Oh no, it's going to come off. So as long as you don't destroy this taking it off, totally cool to reuse it. If you tear it, rip it, just order a replacement. Now then, as far as the floats go in the box, the floats are held on with this pin. We should be able to pop this out. We should be able to pop that out. Yeah. And then you have your float needle. And what you're looking for is just any sort of pitting or grossness, let's just say. There's a ball bearing on this side, and it has a little spring inside there. Make sure this goes up and down, and then you can put this back in the... There's a gasket under here. These are all three the same length. And then this will pop off. This will pop off. This will pop off. Okay. So there's a little plunger type thing right here. There's nothing else underneath there. If you don't tear it, you can reuse it. So we're just going to pop this off and put it over to the side. This, there may be a filter in there. This is a 19 millimeter. So this goes in the thing, and then see, it's a tiny little screen filter. You got your air filter on top, you got your full fuel filter before, and then you have this tiny screen filter. Put that in the jar. So now this piece we can put in the cleaner. We just want to take all that stuff off. This is the seat for your needle valve. Don't really need to remove that. We just want to remove all of this stuff. We should scrape this gasket material off. You could use some sort of buzzer. Gentle pressure when you're working on these things. These rarely break, but if they do, it's a long time out. Okay, set that over there. We'll call this the main body. So here's your jets right here. They're dirty on the top. You want to keep them in order if they're different sizes. It has teeny tiny little numbers on there that are very hard to see. But in this case, this one is a 160 and this one is a 165. Now, when you put these in, they just go in tight, right? They're brass and they're going in to aluminum and they're small. And there's a hole in the top. As long as you can see through the hole in the top, it's pretty clean. So this one's a 165. And then this one is a 160. A little bit of schmutz in there. Then there's main jets down here. These are probably going to be different sizes as well. Oh, don't lose it. This one is a 137. Sometimes light helps. And this one is a 140. So if you look in there, you can see some black stuff, debris floating around. That's what we're here for. I'm going to write some stuff down real fast. This is your squirter jets. So this over here is your power valve. It's attached to that thing. And it squirts fuel out of here when you give it the gas. And it's supposed to be shiny brass. And it's a little loose. So it has like a banjo bolt. Fuel comes in, squirts out of these teeny tiny holes. But you know, it's kind of dirty. And then there's another washer right here. And then these are your venturis. Technically, those come out. You just grab them. These are too big, probably. No. They only go in one way. There's a round hole and a square slot. So the round hole's on this side. There's a number on this. This is a 35. And then this one's a 3.5. So these are both the same. Similar, let's just say. And you can see the whole fuel comes out of there. Fuel mixed with air. There's emulsion tubes in here. This one is a F50. If it's a little sticky, you can put some air right here. There's going to be gas mixed with it. That didn't work. Percussive shock. That didn't work. finally. And this one is a F56. F66. Okay. So this is all part of the jets. So let me try to explain. Okay. Emulsion tube. This teeny tiny jet is like this. You know what? I can draw a picture. So we have a jet here with a hole in it. And then there's a passageway. And then there's the emulsion tube. With holes in it. And then up on top is the air corrector jet with a hole in it. So when you move the throttle, it creates a vacuum in the motor. It sucks through this basically, and it pulls fuel up. And so your fuel's metered here by your jet, which was a 35. And then air gets mixed in here, the 66. So you're adding air into it for atomization to go into the carburetor. And then this is how much air you're mixing in to the fuel that takes place right here. Little tiny tornado. So all of this is totally adjustable by changing one of these, one of these, one of these. If your car is running rich, you could add more fuel. If your car is running rich, you could add a larger air corrector. If your car is running, wait, did I say that right? If your car is running rich with your 35, you could add a bigger air corrector to add more air into the mix. That will lean it out some. You could add a smaller one of these, or vice versa. If you're too lean, you can add a bigger one of these, a smaller one of these. If it's something else, you can add a different one of these, change your mix up. It gets a little confusing. There's formulas for that, but I'm not smart enough to know what they are. I admit it. That's why I have a air-fuel ratio gauge, and then I can figure out how it's reading and what to do. Okay, now up at top, we have idle jets. So when the car is idling, it's operating off of these jets. It operates off of these jets to a certain RPM, and then it switches over to the mains. And so this one is a 60. So it has fuel, air mix, all inside of it. And so what we're talking about is primary, secondary. So when you give it the gas, you're operating off of the primary until you crank it open, and then the secondary kicks in, right? So this is about a third. Here's half, full. I mean, it goes from half to full really fast because it's mechanically controlled. And so this one's for the secondary. And it's a 50. That's part of the power valve. There's There's a crush washer on that. And then this is your power valve, your big, this has got a plunger and a spring, and so when you're doing gas, this thing actually has a lever on it right here, and it's squirting fuel when you pump the throttle, and it's shooting raw gas into here. Starting, acceleration, stuff like that. These are all going to be the same size. Well, let me take that back. They should all be the same size. Put them in the jar. And then this will come off. This will come off like that. We can put this in the jar. If you didn't tear it, you can reuse it. There's a spring. And then there's a teeny tiny screw right here. Okay, so we're almost done disassembling it. The only other thing that I like to do, kind of recommend, is I'm going to pull this choke piece off before we clean it. So long, medium, short. And what happens is this will fall off, and it's connected right here. And you can feed this through, set it over to the side. There's a little vacuum port right here that goes into this mechanism right here. And it's for the part of the choke. It's electric, but it's got a vacuum part in there. It's confusing, but not that big a deal. And then the last thing we're going to take out is the idle set screw. And so this is what you're adjusting for your idle mix. 1.5 turns out to start. Then you adjust it till you like the way it runs. See all those carbon deposits on the tip? Now we don't need to take the butterflies off. We don't really need to take anything else off. We could strip it down to its bare bones, take these off, take all this off, slide everything apart, but this will clean in the sonic cleaner, just like this. So for sonic cleaning, we're going to put the body in there. We're going to put the top in there. We're going to put all of our jets, our emulsion tubes, our venturis, our squirter, all of that. We don't need to put the floats in there. We don't need to put the choke in there. And we don't need to put the power valves in there, because technically they don't touch any fuel that's metered. So all of these little holes are passageways for air and fuel to mix up, right? And so we want to make sure all of those are clean. Everything over there looks good. Everything over here looks good. So this is just discoloration from our gasket sitting on there. That's in. Some of this is going to be engine oil contaminants from the outside. It's really dirty under here. So this is your idle set screw. This is for engine speed. When it's resting, foot off the gas, this is where you adjust it from 500 to 800 to 1,000, whatever. We don't need to take this out because it's an outside screw and it just touches a hard part. We'll reset that when we put everything back together. And we could hose it down and pre-clean it a little bit with some carburetor cleaner like this. Get some of the stuff off. So when you hose that down with carburetor cleaner, you are dissolving schmutz, and it's going everywhere. It's going in these holes, air passages, fuel passages. There's still debris down in here that we have to get out. It's made it past our filters and stuff. It's probably actually just gasket material coming apart and falling inside. Let's think about this. I will demonstrate two methods, I guess. Two methods to clean this out. The easy way and the hard way. The hard way is the hard way. I'm gonna demonstrate. So you take your carbon choke cleaner, pick a orientation and spray it into the hole like this. And then you take your compressed air and you blow it through the hole. And it's coming out here. Then you do this one. And you take your compressed air and you blow it through the hole. And vice, like you do this with all of them. And then you need to flip it over. Open these butterflies. There's a series of holes right here that need to be cleaned out. Here, here, here. And, you know, you just keep doing that. You have to do it on these. You have to do it on your jets, on your squirters, on everything. Then you have to do it on the top. It's time consuming. They also make these cleaner outers, so you can find the appropriate size and you can run it up in here to clean it out. But it doesn't bend around corners. Want to use like a pipe cleaner? What do they call them now? Pipe cleaner? I don't know what they call them. Let me find out. So they don't call them pipe cleaners, they call them fuzzy sticks. But we used to use stuff like this. The problem with this stuff is these are usually like polyester fibers, and you'll melt them with this stuff. Then you're going to shove it down in there, and here's a little fuzzy tip, and you're going to leave fuzz inside. So do not use these. The easiest way is with an ultrasonic cleaner. Harbor Freight, Northern Tool, Amazon. Yes, you're not going to use it that often, but once you start using it, you're going to use it a lot. So I used it yesterday to clean the master cylinder on the Fiat. So that's the dirty water from cleaning it off. So this is just plain water, and then there's an ultrasonic cleaning powder that you can use, like a 1/4 teaspoon. It dissolves. This is like some sort of soap with some sort of, let's just say, acid in it to clean stuff. But it says right on here, don't use it on aluminum or magnesium because it's going to make it ugly. Basically, it's going to discolor it. It's already discolored, and we want it to look nice. They make these little strainer things you can put all the small pieces in, but it has a little tray. The small pieces are going to fall through, but you can get them out of there pretty easy. I've seen people put water in this and put it in there. That will work. A Ziploc bag with water to hold these little pieces together. So I'm just going to put them in there loose, and we'll fish them out one at a time. I wrote down all of my numbers on the side over here for my primary side. That means everything else goes on the secondary side. It won't be too hard to figure out. Let me just dump this water out and clean this out. So when you dump it out, you can see the dirt concentrated in there. And then there's, schmutz left. Get all that out of there. So just a regular rag, wipe it down, dry it out, blow it out. The carburetor will fit in here. The lid will go on one way. Why they did that, I don't know. But you're going to have to adjust your level to get it completely covered. Option 2 is you put it in here like this, clean it. 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 And then when that's done, then you can put your top in. You can do both at one time. But then you got to be flipping stuff around. And then all your small bits got to go in here. So we can put small bits in with this. Or we can put small bits in with this. But see where I'm going with this? I think so. I think you can follow me. Sometimes if you put your tray in, it takes up all the space. But to be honest, you'll be fine. This is one of the smaller ones. They come in different sizes. You can buy a bigger one. But, something like this, for what I do, this is perfect. I can fit motorcycle carbs in there. I can fit these in there. Is a big honkin' Holley 4-barrel going to fit in there? Only if you take it apart. But I don't have anything with a Holley carburetor on it. So, whatever size suits you. So even though there's soot and carbon buildup inside, around, this will clean it all off. So we're using this ultrasonic cleaning solution for carburetors, injectors, and other motor parts, right? I got this tip from the Dan Book over at Book Auto Works. It has mixture instructions on it, 1 to 5. 1 part of this to 5 parts of water. So you have to do some maths. And then we pour it in. And then over here, we have plain water. So you're going to soak it, clean it, and then rinse it off and dry it off. Okay? So I'm going to take all these tiny bits and plop them in. I know what you're asking. What's it made out of? Magic. It's made out of magic. Carb base goes in. And I'm going to add just a smidge more water. Because I want it over the top. Like that. Now then your machine will have different settings. It's in number of seconds. This one has a heater on it. It will heat the water up to about 130 degrees. I use hot water from the tap. You get it. Anytime you use this, there's going to be spills. Why the lid only goes on one way, I don't know. It's weird. So we're going to set this to max 480, and then we'll come back. We may do some flipping. It makes a little noise. If you stick your hand in there, you can feel vibrations in the water. Okay, so let me clean up. Those little washers are in there, and we don't want to lose those. And they're all copper, so they're not magnetic. I can take this, pour it into this. So if you look, there's quite a bit of schmutz in there. So I pour the fluid through a strainer. This is for paint. Those are some pretty big solids. And then you saw me going over this with a file That's because there was a couple high spot imperfections on there. Imperfections in casting and cleaning. So this would be the inside. This is the top. But if we look at this, it's a lot cleaner. If you look on the inside, which is what we're really concerned with, let me get a picture here. And then I showed you this. And so what you do is after you take it out of the sonic cleaner, then you rinse it off in water and then you blow it out with the air compressor through all of the holes that you can find. Some of them are going to be screw holes and water's going to fly out. Some of them are going to be ports and water's going to shoot out somewhere else. But you want to make sure you get all the water out. I mean, it'll run crappy with water in it until all the water comes out. But, you know, it's just blowing it out with air. So if you look at these, it says 78 degrees. And what that means is this edge face right here is a 70-degree angle from flat. And so when it closes like this, it forms a seal against the inside of this orifice. Now this one is where your idle set screw is. And let me get a light like this. So that's your idle, right? See no light or not much light coming through there, but through there, take your hand off. Light. That's air going through into the motor to make it run. So that's your idle setting. If we back this screw out all the way, it'll close just like this other one, and then your car won't idle without foot on the gas. So that stuff did a pretty good job. It's a nice even color. There's no staining. Over here you're getting off color, but that's different casting parts. Now if you wanted to, you could get after this with a Dremel or something and polish it all up. But, you know, you've seen me do that before. So I'll try to keep it lined up on this box so you can see. We got the base. And I could say that assembly is opposite of disassembly and have a good time, and it's not that hard. So first, what I'd like to do is we're going to start putting parts back in. Main jets, air correctors, pump, doodad, 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 doodad. Sorry. We'll talk about them when we put them together. Remember, we have different sizes for each side, right? So you could say this is, on this car, this is driver side, this is passenger side, this is outside, this is inside. It's oriented like this on the car. Side facing you, the side facing away from you, right? So pick one side and do it first so you don't get anything mixed up. So we got to look for numbers. We're going to start with a 137. where do you want to begin? I want to begin on one side. Okay. So this is our emulsion tube. And it's a F66, which doesn't mean anything, like I said before. Well, maybe I never said this before. So all these numbers are made up. Okay. But they have to put numbers on it for some reason. So you should be able to take this part and compare it to another one with a different number and get a different flow rate, higher or lower, right? So the bigger the number, the bigger the hole, the smaller the number, the smaller the hole. The problem with these things is it depends on where you get your parts from. So my recommendation is if you're going to order parts to rebuild a carburetor like jets and stuff, order all of the jets from the same place at the same time. Order all of these little parts from the same store at the same time. For instance, when I was working on the dual Webers on the Fiat, I had to rejet that car. So I bought all the jets at the same time from Pierce Manifold. So I know that all of the jets are the same brand and they're the size differences should be the same between each jet. If you order one from this store and a different one from that store, they could be different manufacturers. I wouldn't buy them off of Amazon. I just wouldn't. You might be able to find something on eBay, but again, you know, you got to be a little bit particular when you're buying stuff like this. And now I forgot what size I was working. F66. Oh yeah, F66. So what does it mean? Nothing. It's just bigger than an F60 or smaller than an F70. But, you know, how do you know? If the car runs like crap, then you know. So this just drops in. I can put this one in, but I'm going to do one side at a time, like I said. Okay. And then on top of this is our air corrector. These don't need any Loctite or no nylon thread tape, nylon tape, yeah, whatever the hell it's called. Sorry, I'm getting a little wonky. And then as far as force, we're going to turn them till they stop. And then we're going to give them a little oomph. Okay, so we're dealing with brass inside aluminum. Don't break it. And then this is our 37. It goes down in here. It's a good idea to start them by hand, even though it's teeny tiny. And you can see I'm having some difficulty. Usually, if you're going to cross thread it, it's not going to flow right, but it'll cross thread and usually damage the brass. So again, tight and then an oomph. Foot-pounds? I don't know. And then this is our idle jet. You can, once you blow it out with air, it's pretty clean. And it's going to go in here. And again, just gets a snug. This little doodad went over here. The appropriate screwdriver fits all the way across. You want to be able to bite onto both sides. And, you know, I can't use this one in here. So, different lengths, different sizes. So this is part of the accelerator pump, which was over here. And it's going to go down in here. And it had a washer around it. So this is idle air mix. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn it till it stops. And we're going to be careful, because if you jam it in there, you can mess things up. So we don't want to jam it in there. Turn it till it stops. See? And then out 1.5 turns. I'm going to turn it like that, and I'm going to go half, 1, half. So we're going to start it out 1.5 turns. Air's flowing through here, and it's sucking gas out through that slot. And so you need to match up the hole to the hole right there. And it's just going to drop in there. And then the same with this one. The hole matches up with the hole. And it just drops in there. And it's flush across the top. Plus or minus. Might need a little tap. Okay, and then this is the squirter. It has a number on it too, 55. And on this one, it's only squirting out of one hole, and it's only squirting into the primary. So we need one of these copper washers. It goes on this, and then our doodad. And another copper washer. And then this goes on this. Like that. And then again, not quite big enough. Okay. And then over here, we're going to put our accelerator pump together. So remember it had a spring. So this fits into this. And if you take your screws, hey, screw. Yeah. And pop 2 of them in there like that. That'll help you line it up. And then this piece fits over this, or under this, whatever you want to call it. And you're just going to line this up. Push this down like so. And then these get a snug. And then when you mash the gas, this gets pushed. And so what's happening is it's pumping fuel through here. This thing, there's this thing on the other side, and it's going to squirt out right here. The whole choke. Okay, so choke mechanism is back on. There's a teeny tiny O-ring in there that seals it going in that way. This is your electric choke, and it's a bimetal spring. And so you're putting heat on this, and it's making it hot, and when it's hot, it expands, and when it expands, it rolls out, and so it's going to move this. This is your choke lever that goes up. So as it gets hot, it goes this way and opens up that flap. So we have this goes on this, and then it sits in here. Like so, and we have an adjustment mark. So we can preset it. We can have it hold open faster, open slower. But that's where we were before. And then this is the hold down ring. And this is your ground connection. So you're grounding to this and grounding everything to the carburetor, which is grounded to the car through the studs and the manifold. Yeah, it gets confusing. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah. So, let's talk about choke settings. So this runs up to move the flaps. So this is your, are you looking? Yeah. So this is your choke idle setting. So you have idle setting over here. You have choke idle over here. So what happens is this little doodad, when the car is cold or when it's cold outside, this is going to rotate down. So you got this step right here. So it lands on that. And it offsets off of this idle setting. And then with the power going and the car warming up and all of the other things, when you hit the gas the next time, this thing is going to pop down and it's going to be in between. And you'll be back on the idle setting. So you could call this high idle. Right here, high idle, it's choke idle. This is regular idle. So you can, if you need more RPMs, you want to get this to like 1200, maybe 1300 RPM when the car is cold to, you know, keep it going so it doesn't stall out. But then when you warm it up, it's gonna go down. To whatever the idle setting is right here. Okay. Where are we? We need to put some stuff back together. So your little filter screen goes right in here. And then this kind of holds it in place. And this one was a 19 millimeter. And Here, let me try to help you, okay? So when you're doing this and this is on here, here's what happens. You're torquing this down and you slip, boom, and that's how that thing gets broke off. So, you know, just pay extra care to it. It's only going to tighten up till it's tight, and then it's not going to go any further. So we have to put the plunger back on. This can flop around anyway. The world's smallest C-clip. Don't lose that. Next is going to be the floats and the needle. So what will happen is this will get corroded or pitted because of water. But it forms a seal in here, and it's what lets the gas in. So it slides over this just like that. And nothing really holds it on. And then we have this pin. So we're going to take this, we're going to drop it in that hole, and we're going to line this up. So just till it comes out of both sides. And then what you want is, there's a preset amount for right here. I'd have to look it up, but I don't have it with me. But I did it the last time, so. And then when it closes, you want it to close to where it pushes that ball bearing in. So that's that. So this is done. So next step is we want to get this up, and then we can put our gasket back on. Again, I'm going to say you only need a new one if you ripped it. If you didn't rip it, it's going to work. And then there's this little plastic slider piece that goes right here. This plastic slider piece goes in there. And so what you do is you kind of tap it around. And we're going to hold this like this. And this is going to go through the slider piece. We're going to set all of this on top. And then we just want it to fall into place like about that. So our 5 bolts that are all the same size. This one I can't start by hand. I can back it up and then get it to go. And then these are going to be tight. And then give them a oomph. So they all feel about the same. And then we have this doojab right here. So this goes on there. And then the world's smallest clip. That bounced off of 3 different things and landed in front of me the last time. Got it. So if you look at that, it's dented because this part came off. And so I had to take all of this out. There's a video about that. I may tune it into this one. But when I was messing with the car, this was just flapping open. So this is only a press fit. They put it on and then they mash it with a hammer. And then it folds over a little bit to hold it on. And so it was off. So I had to take all this off. And then I peened it with a sharp point of a chisel to expand that metal to hold it in place. So I'm going to show you on choke. Yeah. So this is on choke. Right here. And you can see that we're slightly off our idle setting. And then when the car warms up, when it starts to warm up, car is warming up with the electronic choke. It's warming up like this. And then it stays open. Well, so what happens is you're driving your car and it's hot as it's going to get. This is wide open, right? And you park it in your driveway or your garage, and you get up the next day to go somewhere, and now the car's cold, but it's still like this because it's mechanical. And you give it the gas and it won't start. And then you give it a pump, and when you pump it, what happens is this whole mechanism rotates and it goes on to choke idle setting. So now it's going to run a 1300 RPM, and you start it again and it starts and you're like, yay, it started. But then it's idling high. And so you probably let it warm up for, I don't know what, 15 seconds to get your seatbelt on and all that other stuff. And then you back out. And then when you get down now you're driving it, and the choke's slowly opening as you drive. And then you're good to go. So what you could do is when you get in the car first thing in the morning is just give it a pump, and it's going to close those flaps. If you want them closed more, you're going to turn this, and it's going to close them flap more. You could have it all the way closed, depending on what your climate is. So that's a lot of talking and a lot of cleaning. I've been out here for, I don't know, 5 hours doing all this. So all we have to do now is we can put this back on, and we can put it back on the car, and we can hook up the gas, and then we'll get it warmed up. We'll set our air idle mix. This only controls something at idle. It's not going to do anything above 2000 RPM. You're not going to be able to make it rich or lean. It's only on the idle circuit. Once you get off the idle circuit, this thing doesn't do anything anymore. So just that's some information. If you want it more rich, you're going to have to start changing jets. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a good day.